Hi everyone, and welcome back to my flight log. So this is going to be a review of flights 63 and 64. And of the two, 64 is quite significant, at least for me, because it was my first area solo. You can see it right here. So this was pretty important and actually quite nice flight for me. I quite enjoyed it, where I take the plane by myself and fly around the training area. Just nice and easy flight, nothing fancy, and get back in one piece. And aside from this being my first solo flight, it was also the one that helped me complete the prerequisite number of solo flight hours to make me eligible for the RPL test. So now I have 5 hours of solo flights. That makes me eligible, along with everything else that I have completed, like the RPL written exam and a few other endorsements, like the radio endorsement. All that put together makes me now eligible for the actual RPL test, and I've scheduled that test for next week. So in this video and review, I want to talk about this flight 64 plus the one prior to that 63, and I'll try to keep it short. The main thing is to also try out this new format for my reviews of my flights. Prior to this video, I was publishing my long form full flight recordings, and up to I think sometime in January I was also publishing the narrated versions of my reviews. Basically, these were fully scripted videos talking about what I did in a particular flight, and also providing some background relevant aviation knowledge, basically stuff that I'd learned on that particular flight. The problem was that those videos were very, very tedious effort-wise to make. So I haven't, due to my workload, I haven't been able to create any of the narrations or any of the narrated video logs since January. So I decided to try out Cloud Ahoy to give me an alternative way to create my logs, and my especially the short form versions of my logs. So just please give me some feedback. What do you think about this? Is it like a better way to provide, I guess, a debrief of my flights that is useful to you? Or do you think that the extra effort required for my original format is justified? In this particular review, I'm strictly going to talk about what I have actually done, because there isn't any new knowledge that I've learned. It's just practice of the same stuff that I've done many, many times before. But my plan is that once I qualify for the RPL certificate and then I continue with PPL, there's going to be a new lot of knowledge coming my way that I will have to absorb and learn. And I'll be including bits of that in these debriefs. So again, I want to make this useful for you as well, as you're spending time watching it, not just for me to go back and reminisce my flights. I want this to be a useful resource. So yeah, let me know what you think, and without any further ado, I will go back to flight 63, which was this one here, and just quickly talk a little bit about it. This is what the flight looks like. The purpose of this flight was, number one, to allow my instructor to see what my performance would be on the day, and then for him to decide whether it would be okay for me to go for a solo in the same training area. Of course, you know that in the end, he said that I can go, and I've done the solo. It's all good. But prior to that, it was kind of an open question. One problem was that the weather on the day was not, it's not clear sky. It wasn't blue sky. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of cloud. When we started, there was also a bit of rain. It was really, literally touch and go. The nice thing is that the way that the weather improved within the time we went out for the first flight. That was at about 11 o'clock. There wasn't any more rain. cloud base was fairly low, so about 2,000 feet, maybe 2,100, but it was broken. So actually we could see broken clouds. So in this case, I'm doing a steep turn as practice, and I was able to do that essentially higher than the cloud base because it was an area without any clouds. We were able to climb through that, get our safe altitude of a bit over 2,000 feet, close to 3,000 feet, as you can see here, my altimeter, right there, and closer to 3,000 feet, sorry. There's about 2,800. So we're able to do these maneuvers. That was the first objective, just to assess my capability for a area so low. And there was also a secondary objective, and that was to practice several maneuvers. So definitely landings. I had to practice my landings. I had to practice my forced landings. We've done one right here. The target. So it was a random one. It wasn't pre-planned. At some point, the instructor turned off power, or set power to idle, really. And out of the blue, I've never done this at this location. So I was able to figure out that a nice block of land to land on was right here, just on the left side of this patch of trees. It's a nice clearing, and execute the maneuver for a glide and a forced landing there. After that, we went towards Kari Kari, did some steep turns. I'm not sure what happened here with the Cloud Ahoy recorder. You can see this. I definitely did not do a sharp turn like this. Probably some issue with the recording. It was another weird thing happening right here as well. You can see it. So it's fine. Just so you know, I didn't do a turn like this, an angle turn. At the same time, doing these steep turns, also practicing with the radio skills, listening and talking to the radio. I did make some mistakes, like for example, at the very, very beginning, at the departure call that I made, obviously as you can see here, we're departing on runway 17, and we are traveling to the south. I said we are traveling to the east, things like that. So I'm improving on all that. Now, let's see. Another thing was to practice navigation. My trips to the training area so far had been with better weather and a lot less clouds, so visibility was always pretty good in the distance. In this case, because of the cloud, then kind of there was a bit of haziness in the air. For example, from this point here, I wasn't able to see the lakes across Newcastle down here. I couldn't even see these peaks here. I could see them once getting a bit closer, but not from this distance right here. So the usual landmarks that I used for navigation were not available. I would have to use something closer. That was quite prominent when we were around here flying over Kari Kari, and I couldn't actually see the airport. And normally from here to navigate to the airport, I use this peak right here. If I go to an angle, you can see this peak is very prominent. It's just a very sudden drop. We call that broken back. So this is easy to see from all the way here, but not on that particular day. So actually I did become a little disoriented, and then Alex just indicated a few other closer landmarks to navigate with, including this. This is not a road; it's more like a fire zone, fire suppression zone, and I think there's some utilities passing through here, like electricity cabling, high voltage electricity passing through it. There's a road here as well. So there was a few new elements in my navigational skills. After coming back over the airport, we did an overpass here on the threshold of runway 17 to check on the condition of the wind. So here's another thing that was different on this particular flight rather than, or day in general, rather than previous days, was the wind. So the wind was pretty much 90 degrees to the runway. It was almost 100% crosswind. And it would vary from 5 knots to, say, 12 knots. So that was an added level of difficulty for my landing. So it was an opportunity to practice with my crosswind landings. So we flew over the threshold of 1.7. The windsock is right here. So check what the wind was doing. When we took off, we used runway 17. By the time we got back, the runway had switched to 35. So the landings at that point were done on runway 35. So I practiced that. We did 3 circuits, 2 touch and goes and 1 full stop. And after that, Alex said, yeah, go for it. So let's go and have a look at my solo flight now. First area solo. So Alex suggested that in this time that I've got on my own in the training area, I could practice a few skills. I needed about 1.3 or 1.4 hours of solo time to get to that 5 hours that I needed for my RPL eligibility. So I could basically do anything that I wanted. But given the clouds, the crosswind situation, and that it was my very first solo flight, I thought I would take it easy. My objective was just to fly a nice, relaxed 1.3 hours in the training area, look out the window, check my speed, check my fuel, listen to the radio, communicate as I was doing things like coming back. Eventually, I also did an overfly, which was pretty cool. It wasn't planned. I'll talk about it later. Keep an eye on the ground for places that I can use for a forced landing if necessary, if needed. Remember, this is the plane that I experienced my first real engine failure emergency. I trust the plane, it's not a problem, but you know, once it happens to you once, you know what it's like. So kind of don't take any chances and always look for options. So as I was flying here, for example, over this terrain, which is both built, you can see there's part of Cessnock City here, and then there's lots of trees. And because I had to stay below the clouds, so the clouds were about 2,000 feet, so I'd keep separation. I flew most of this solo flight at about 1,700 to 1,800 feet. So it wasn't that high. So always keeping an eye for places that I can use for forced landings if needed. So that was something that I spent a lot of time doing. Another thing I spent a lot of time doing was making sure that I know where the airport is. So again, the day had cleared up a little since the first flight, so visibility definitely was longer. There wasn't as much haze. There were still clouds. You can see here. Actually, I'll just go to a random location. Say, where is that? This is where I overflew the airport. And then I'm going back to the training area. So now I'm looking south. You can see the clouds actually are quite close to my altitude. Probably I'm now flying at 1.7, 1,700 feet, and probably another 200 feet for the clouds. So I had to keep an eye on that. But you can see that I can see the peaks across the horizon. I can see it definitely 10 kilometers, so it wasn't a problem, but I was keeping an eye on my bearings to the airport so that I could always turn back if needed. I was also keeping an eye on the clock because, yes, I wanted to fly 1.3 hours, but not much more because I wanted to land while I was still rested and all that. Just I feel that it does take energy, and I want to fly at my peak, not when I'm starting to get tired. So I had an eye. I was checking my watch regularly to make sure that I'm getting closer, or I've completed the amount of time of flying that I needed, and prepared to go back. Now, the other thing about this training area is not very big. So from here, It takes about maybe 15 minutes at the C150's cruising speed to get to the other end of it and basically complete the circuit of the training area. There's not much else to do or to go to here, because if I continue further north, I end up getting too close to Maitland. So there's the Maitland airport, which is a private airport. We don't want to go anywhere near there, or for various reasons. There's traffic there as well, which we don't want to conflict with. And there's also a military restricted area close to Newcastle. I think the airport is somewhere here. This is an Air Force base. So the issue there is the ceiling is 2,500 feet. So as we're getting close to, like, going past that road here, got to make sure that I am not infringing into that restricted airspace. Well, with my altitude and because of the clouds, that wouldn't be an issue at all, but something that I keep in mind. So I knew that I would have to do this kind of trip a couple of times to make up the time that I needed. So what I did was to fly the first kind of circuit, if I can call it that, the first circuit. And then on the way back, I thought I'd do two things. Either go back towards the east and retrace my steps and then turn back and kind of do a few U-turns. Or go over the airport, which is what I eventually end up doing, and overfly the runway and then continue south. So I decided to do that because the main reason was that as I was listening to the radio, I knew that was at least one more plane in the training area. And I did call him to ask him what his altitude was going to be and what his intentions were going to be, whether he's going to, for example, stay here and do some steep turns or forced landings or things, something like that, just so that I have a better idea of what to expect. But he never responded to me and decided to just avoid the area. So then I continued to the airport. So let's see if I can find here the radio call, because it's another thing that I was doing. I wanted to practice my radio calls, so that would be airborne. That would be around here. Let's see. A little bit further back. Yeah, around here. Let's try this.
Valve again.
So I'm flying near Karikari here. Here's a township on the right side as I'm flying.
I'm just going to descend a little bit clouds. Throttle, don't go into the yellow arc.
Yeah, my speed picked up a little bit at that point because I was this
1,600, okay, maintain this altitude.
very cool.
Cessna traffic, Cessna 150, Sierra Lima Lima, 4 miles east to the aerodrome at 1,700 feet. Intend to overfly the runway and then continue east at 1,700 feet, Cessna.
Yeah. And then
Sierra Lima Lima Echo Quebec Uniform. Can I just have an appreciation of your the cloud base at the moment?
Yes, I am at 1,700 and the cloud base is probably another 200 or 300 feet above me at the moment. Sierra Lima Lima.
yeah, so someone actually asked me a question. I've never had anyone responding to my radio calls in this CTAF area, because normally, usually people listen, but unless there's a good reason they don't call back. So in this case, it seems like that was a plane that was planning to depart. It was going to come down my way. I just wanted to get a real-time report on what the clouds were doing. So it's pretty cool. All right, after that, I flew, it's got 10 seconds, over the airport. So here I just wanted to basically practice doing exactly that, but also to get an opportunity to observe what the wind was doing at that point in time, because I was starting to get into the mode of returning at some point. So since I was near the airport, I thought, let's check to see what the wind is doing.
Right, let's get back down to 1,700.
So I was I was sticking to my altitude as I had mentioned on my radio.
Reduce power, don't overspeed.
So I'm looking out the window now to look at the windsock. Should have gone a little bit further to the right.
Center.
Give me a better view.
Entering and backtracking runway 35.
Yeah, so I knew there was one more plane in the circuit. And continuing to the east, to the south. All right. After that, I did one more of the same. Kind of followed the path from my previous loop. Went back to Kurikuri. And here I thought, instead of doing a left turn, I'm just going to do a 300-degree right turn. Like that. Just going to go 1 + 1 second. So just did that. I did 10 seconds. And then back on track. Now at that point my plan was to join the circuit and do a few touch and goes to practice my landings.
I've got the oval right ahead of me. Oval, and I've got the prison, and I've got the airport right there.
Yeah, so I was able to sight the important landmarks. Something weird happening to the GPS speed here. It says 0. Obviously not correct. So here I'm about to ask this Delta Oscar Lima about where he is, because I knew he was kind of in the training area, which kind of is where I was heading to as well, to the south of the aerodrome.
Delta Oscar Lima, Sierra Lima Lima. In the training area, could you please let me know your altitude and approximate location? Sierra Lima Lima.
No response. That's okay. So the airport is right there. So I'm going to join downwind. Oh, sorry, crosswind. This is where I join, crosswind, and then join the circuit there.
Yep, I can see the windsock from here, so it's definitely runway 35. A good strong wind, a good headwind. So I'm going to call that I'm going to join crosswind for runway 35. And I'll do touch and goes. Cessnock traffic, Sierra Lima Lima, joining crosswind for runway 35, touch and go, Cessnock.
Okay. So what I'd like to show you, just to finish with this video, are my 3 landings. So here's the first one.
30-degree flap, just power.
Remember that there's a lot more crosswind than what I have experienced in the past. So there was.
I'm going to use a bit of rudder this time.
It was adding to the difficulty level.
30 knots,
So this profile looks good, but I think in the future I want to
Idle.
add maybe idle. Yeah, actually there's good timing for the idle. There is wind.
Much better.
Nice, relatively soft
Power.
touchdown on the main wheels, which is what I'm always going for, is like main wheels at this point.
Throttle.
I can improve other aspects of the landing later.
60 knots.
This was the last one.
Basically not.
I was planning to do another circuit after this, but I decided just to go for a landing because I was a
Landing right
little
on.
worried about the fuel situation, even though I had plenty. I had like 70 liters when I started. But
Crosswind
I
from
thought
the
I'd
right.
land, and if I needed
Power.
more time to complete my 5 hours of solo time requirement, I would just go back in the plane and do a couple more circuits. But I had this nagging
Idle.
question about, do I have enough fuel? And even though I knew that I had enough, I didn't want to continue because of the nagging thing in my mind. Okay, a little drop there, but still main wheels.
It was not a very good landing.
It wasn't too bad either. That's it.
Okay.
That was my first area solo. I hope you liked it. Please let me know how you like or dislike this format of my flight debriefs using Cloud video and a bit of relatively unscripted commentary as opposed to the way I used to do it. Just remember that I will be putting some knowledge bits and pieces about aviation as I get to learn it as well, especially as I'm about to hopefully start with PPL training shortly. First pass the RPL test, then get on with PPL, and there's going to be some pretty interesting bits of knowledge that I'd be able to share with you in these debrief videos coming up. Okay, until next time, wish you clear skies and safe landings. Bye for now.